Hi and welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Mathilde, I'm a French knitter, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. Now, today's video is just going to be a regular podcast episode, although I have no finished objects and no acquisitions to share. So we're just going to go through some whips, most of which you already know, and one which is a new whip. And because I've been on holidays for the past 2 weeks, I've got quite a lot to share with you on that one. There also was not a video uploaded last week because, as I said, I was on holidays, and so I just didn't really want to focus too much on being on the computer. I wanted to kind of be away from a computer, my phone. I've not really been active on Instagram either, but I'm hoping to be back to a regular uploading schedule and back on Instagram from now on. So we'll see how that goes because life's quite busy at the moment, so we'll see. But let's just get straight into it and talk about the first whip, which is one you've seen before in the last podcast, and that is my Cove Sweater by the Knit Purl Girl, which is a test knit I'm doing for her because she's updating her Cove Sweater pattern, which already exists. I think it was published like 2 or 3 years ago. So this is just an update to the pattern, I think, because she's changed some numbers, and so I've been wanting to knit that sweater, and so I asked to test knit it because I had bought the pattern already, and so I thought might as well just test knit for her and give her feedback on it. So I am knitting the size D, which is the 4th size in the pattern, obviously. I am knitting it in Onling number 10, which is their silk mohair in the colorway very dark blue, I want to say, which is the number 0459 or 89, can't quite tell, which is 70% Superkid mohair and 30% silk. And I'm pairing it with a very special yarn which I bought when I was in Japan almost 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago, and this is the Amirisu Stroll. Yes, which is a DK weight yarn. It's 100% superwash yarn, which I haven't used before, so I was kind of dreading it, but also kind of excited to see how that would wear. But because I'm pairing it with the mohair, hopefully it should be alright. The swatch didn't really bloom that much when I blocked it, so hopefully that means the garment will still be quite sturdy and not stretch out too much despite this being a superwash. And it's 228 meters per 100 grams, and it's in the colorway Midnight. This is going to be a really nice combo, I think. I mean, the fabric is stunning, but we'll see how that wears as a finished garment is what I mean. And so obviously this is navy, you're not going to be able to see much, but I've finished the body since last time. I think I was like only 1 centimeter away from finishing the body ribbing, so not much progress there. I've started the sleeve, again, not that much progress there. It's got really nice 2x2 ribbing. It's a drop shoulder which features, this is blowing out a lot, which features this really nice shoulder detail. You've also got 2x2 ribbing on the body, and sorry for the end sticking through. And the suggestion to bind off is to use the Rook method. I think that's the right name. I'll put it on the screen if it's not, but I think that's the name, which was my first time trying this out. I've heard about it before, I've heard of people in podcasts talk about it. I never tried it myself. I've only done, I think, one other project with 2x2 ribbing, which was not a sweater, so don't even remember what that was, but I used the method to turn the 2x2 ribbing into 1x1 ribbing, and then you bind off using tubular bind off. But because this was the method recommended in the pattern, I hadn't tried it out. I thought, you know, good way to try it out and see how that goes. I do think, I don't know, right now I'm not obsessed with the look, but I think also when I see it blocked, maybe it'll be better, because obviously right now, because it's not blocked, it seems like the bind off is just a bit too loose, and so it doesn't look the neatest, but obviously when I stretch out the body ribbing, which obviously it will be a little bit when I block it, it does look pretty nice. So I'm glad I tried it out, and obviously it's navy, so I thought if it doesn't look the best, it's not too bad because it's not going to show that much. So I'll stick to using that method for the sleeves as well. But yeah, not yet 100% sure if I like this method or not. I think for the next project I do that has 2x2 ribbing, I'll try that method of turning it into 1x1 ribbing and then binding off using a tubular bind off, because tubular bind off is my absolute favorite. Even though it takes a while, I don't even care how long it takes me. It just looks so good. So, and then I started the sleeve, as I said. So I was reading through the instructions for the sleeves and I noticed there was a mistake in the pattern for the numbers for my size. So I messaged Sophie, and I think because of that, I paused this project and I was waiting on her answer before getting back to it. And so she didn't get back to me for a bit because I think she hadn't seen the notification, and then I think she was pretty busy. So as I said, I did not work on it for the first week and a half of my holidays, and then that's only when I got back to knitting on this. So I've only done the German short shaping around the top of the sleeve and then a tiny bit of work. You can see I'm growing out quite a bit when I'm doing the German short rows. I am knitting this using continental method, but I'm mostly an English style knitter, so this one is quite new. My intention is not quite right yet. If you want to hear more about that, I recommend watching the last podcast if you're new. But yeah, I'm rowing out quite a bit when I'm doing German short row shaping, which is funny because I don't think I had that issue on the back, but the back does not have German short rows, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think the back has German short row shaping because I think you just do increases. So yeah, that was a new way for me to see that, I guess, because I don't have another project with German short row shaping, I guess, with the continental. So I hope this blocks out quite well because it looks a bit funky, but we'll see. It's navy again, it's not going to show as much, so it's an experiment, that's fine. And the reason also why I've not done that much on the sleeve, even though I was hoping to have at least one sleeve done for today, is because I'm knitting on quite, a small circumference, and I find that does kind of hurt my shoulder arm again, and so decided to take it slow, only knitting a few rows here and there to not hurt it. So it's going to be quite slow for me to finish this sweater. I would like to finish it for the next podcast, but I'm not going to rush it. If it's not done by then, if it's hurting me a bit, I'm going to take it slow, and that's fine. I mean, it's a bit of a heat wave lately in France, and so I'm not going to be wearing this anytime soon, so if I don't finish this soon, that's okay. But yeah, I would quite like to get rid of or finish one of my whips because I have a lot of them, so it's a bit overwhelming. So that's my first update. Let's move on to the Zipper Sweater Light Man by Petite, which I'm knitting for myself, even though it's the man version because that's the pattern I had. And again, I don't have that much progress on this. I do have progress, but it's not near completion, and I think that's fine. So this is my progress with it, and I'll talk about the yarn after. So I've finally managed to join in the round, so I finished doing the zipper split, don't know what to call that. So that's when you join in the round, but then you still knit a few rounds before actually splitting for the sleeves. So hopefully you can see that this V is higher than the armhole, and you just work in the round, and it's so nice to go from knitting, I don't know, 400 stitches to 200 whatever. Yeah, so don't have a lot to show there either, but this is where I'm at under the arm, so I want to say like 3-4 centimeters maybe. I have not tried this on yet since I've split the sleeves, so I'm going to do that right after to show you how it's looking. Hopefully the sizing is okay, we'll see. But yeah, I'm really loving working on this. It's nice because it's a really mindless project now. I'm not taking off rows as I go because it's just the body. I don't need to know, for the raglan increases I'll always take them down because otherwise I forget if I've done the increase row or not. So now I can just knit mindlessly, so it's a nice project to have, but as I said previously, I'm not gonna rush it. So let me grab skeins of this because I only have them wound up, but this is the yarn I'm using. So this is the Fibre company's Cumbria fingering in the colorway Blencathra, which is I'm never gonna remember, but it's 90% wool, 10% mohair. It's 300 meters per 100 grams, and I'm pairing it with Suri lace by the Sunday Fibre company in the colorway Natural Wonder from her 70s issue collection, which is 65% baby Suri alpaca, 35% silk, and it's 320 meters per 50 grams. And I'm loving this combination. I've talked about it before, so I'm not going to go through it again, but love the marling effect that the yarn gives. So let me try it on. Also, it's really hot, so I'm gonna be kind of hot trying this on, but I'm doing this for you guys, also kind of for me, because I'm excited to see how it's looking. Also hoping that my cable is long enough to do this, because I've been using my longer cables for my other projects, and so I don't know if that's gonna be quite enough. Okay, also I have ends to weave in, so apologies. I think it's perfect. Yep, I think it's gonna be perfectly oversized. I didn't say, but I'm knitting the size small, which is the second size in the pattern, I want to say, because I could have knitted size extra small, because these are the men's sizes. The extra small is more fitted to my bust circumference, where usually I would be knitting a size small to medium, depending on the designer. And so I decided to knit the size small because that would give me the same circumference as my storm sweater, which is one of my favorite knits, and so I thought I would like having the same amount of positive ease. So I think it's going to give me around 20 to 25 centimeters of positive ease, or 25 to 30, I can't remember. I think it's 27 because it's 117 centimeter per circumference. So I think it's 27 centimeters. But yeah, I think it's looking really, really good. I do think, and I hope that's going to be kind of stretched out a bit when I block it, but I think the zipper is going to be a bit tight around, or like the collar is going to be a bit tight around my neck when I zip it up. Because right now I really don't like the way it's constricted, but I mean, worst case scenario, I just zip it to here and not all the way up, and that kind of defeats the purpose of this sweater, but it still works, I think. So we'll see when I do add the zip, which is not going to be yet, so that'll be later. So let me remove this and move on to the next whip. The next whip is a really exciting one. I always love giving updates on this one. If you don't know, I'm knitting the girl dress, which is a pattern by VertKnit, for a wedding I'm attending in September, and so I'm knitting this in Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the colorway Olive, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous color, and I think it suits me quite well. I've been sharing updates in the last few podcasts, so I'm not going to go too much into the construction of the beginning of the dress. I'm just going to be talking about the kind of the waist and the skirt, because that's where I'm at in the pattern. But if you're curious, you can watch the previous podcast, but also I'll have a vlog on this project coming out whenever I finish it, which will be in a few months. This is going to be a bit tricky to show as always, because I don't have straps on my dress yet, and I've got the elastic on the waistband not quite in the dress, like it's in the waist, but I've not cut it or anything yet, so it's visible. It's not the prettiest, but hopefully you guys don't mind. But I think last time I had finished the hem, the waist hem on the dress, and I was about to pick up stitches for the skirt and start the skirt, and that's where I'm at. I've done quite a bit. I think I've done like 25 centimeters on the skirt, so that's very exciting. So this is the top of the dress, and it's on a quite long cable, so ignore the fact that it's kind of flaring, but I'll put up a picture or a video clip of me trying it on when it was about here, like 10-15 centimeters of the skirt was done, so that you can see how it's looking. But I'm so excited for this. So I talked about the waist hem bit in the previous podcast, so I'll just share how you pick up stitches and how you do the skirt. So when you knit the waist hem, you have a purl row in the middle of that waist hem, and then when you fold the waist hem down, the purl row is at the bottom of that hem, and so that's where you pick up stitches to then start the skirt. And the skirt has 4 increase points, kind of like raglan increases, and you also have markers on the front of the dress and the back of the dress for a purl stitch running down the front and the back to mimic the increases. So for example, here is where you do 2 of the increase, so on each side of that purl stitch. But then at the back you also have a purl stitch, but there's no increases on each side of that. This is just, I suppose, for the look of it, for it to be consistent. I think I showed you one of the increase points, but here is the back. And again on the front as well, that's what you have. Now the rate of increases is not the same throughout the skirt, so on the first half you have a quicker rate of increases to do, and then once you've reached the hip point on your body, that's when the rate of increases slows, so you do more rounds between increases of just stockinette, or kind of stockinette, because you have those purl details throughout the skirt. My row gauge is a bit off, so I decided to just add a few of the rapid increases throughout the first top of the skirt. So for example, if it says do 2 amount of that type of rapid increase, I did 4 to account for my row gauge, because in the pattern you have a table that says, for example, the bodice should be 15 centimeters long, and then the waist hem should be 3 centimeters high, and then from the waist hem till the hip you're supposed to have 20 centimeters. Those are not the right numbers, but just to explain. And so because it said 20 centimeters, but because I had reached only 15 centimeters by the end of those rapid increases, I added more of those to reach 20 centimeters, and then that's only when I'm slowing down the increases. So I hope that makes sense. It's a bit tricky to explain without sharing the correct numbers, but yeah, it's very easy to adjust. I don't think it changes anything, because she says the number of stitches that you have on the skirt does not matter. You can just switch up the amount of increase rows that you do easily. And so I don't know how many stitches I have on the skirt, but I am using a 100 centimeter long cable, and it's a lot of stitches, and I don't want to know how many I have on the needles. But to be honest, I'm really excited about this knit, and I don't feel like it's dragging at all. I feel like it's moving quite well. I think potentially because the increases were quite rapid, I could it's kind of like stripes. You're wanting to do those 6 rows before the increase row, and then you're like, oh, I only have to do 5 more rows of stockinette before I do my increase row. Oh, okay, maybe I can just do 2 more and then I'm even closer to my next increase row and stuff. Maybe that was kind of helpful, and now that the increases are going to be more spread out, it might be a bit less motivating, but honestly I'm just so excited for the end result, and I can see it bloom so well, and I've been trying it on quite frequently that I'm still really excited about it, so that's good to know. I've been finding the pure silk, even though I love it and I've used it previously and I've not had that issue, I don't think, but I've been finding that the balls at the end of the ball, I'm not able to use them because they kind of, the end of the yarn that's inside the ball, because I use the end from the outside, they kind of twist together, and so to a point where I'm unable to use the end of the ball, and I have to cut the yarn and kind of give it a, like put it away because it's driving me nuts and I have too much yarn anyway. So I'm like really annoyed to kind of not use that amount of yarn, even though it's not that much compared to the ball itself. It's still quite a lot, and it's an expensive yarn, so it's kind of annoying me, but otherwise it's driving me crazy. So I'm choosing my battles and that's what I'm doing. But I just wanted to say I've not had that issue before, but I have been finding it quite painful on this project. And that's a good segue for me to move into my next and last project to talk about, which is my new whip, because I've had a similar issue with the yarn, but let's talk about the whip first. So in the last podcast I said I want to cast on everything, I don't know what to cast on next. So help me out, and I don't think anybody really gave me their opinion on what I should cast on next, and by the time it was uploaded anyway, I was like, I know what I want to cast on, so I did. And that project is the Marielle Blouse by Mariasverden. I've been wanting to cast this on this year. It's on my Make 9. I thought I would cast on later this summer, but I needed I don't know, I just decided to cast this one on, and I'm really happy with how it's going. It's looking a bit frumpy right now, so please don't judge it. I think hopefully blocked it's going to be much better. But yeah, my intention in continental knitting is not great. For the zipper sweater and the girl dress, I'm knitting Knit English style, by the way, so that's why I have kind of 2 projects in each knitting style, because that way I can go back and forth between all of them. But this is the progress that I have on my Marielle blouse. Yeah, that's a lot. And I even had to frog the whole back panel once and start over, so I guess technically I could have had even more than that to show you. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it's looking. I have to say, the lace pattern, I think this is technically one of my first projects with lace. I've had the Marielle scarf before, but it's a much smaller project, and I did make a mistake in that one anyways, but it's more of a mindful project for me than a mindless one. When I do the rows with the lace pattern, I have to be really mindful of what I'm doing, otherwise I mess up and I have to frog and do it all over, which has happened to me a couple of times in this project. So as I said, the whole back panel had to be ripped back and started over, and then I have a few mistakes here and there which I managed to kind of catch and fix. It's not a perfect fix, but it's not too visible because it's in spaces where it's not too visible. And then other times when it would have been visible, I like frogged 1 or 2 rows back and then did it over, and I think that was fine. The pattern is quite clear. I was originally using the first version of the pattern, and I found that one quite tricky to understand. Like, there was a lot of words and the paragraphs were, or like the format was not good. It wasn't really the pattern itself, it was the format that was a bit confusing to me. but then I realized that the pattern had been updated, so I updated it, and I think that worked better for me. Let me talk about the yarn first, and then I'll talk about the construction. I am using Knit Purl Girl by Sandnes Garn in the colorway 1002, and I think this is 100% Norwegian wool. It's kind of like the Purl Girl but in a thinner thickness because it's fingering weight. And then I'm pairing it with 2 strands of alpaca one by Easier, which is 100% alpaca in the colorway E0. This pattern recommends a fingering plus a lace weight, but I'm using my lace weight held double just because that's the look I liked more for the end result. That means actually for both of those yarns I don't think I'm gonna have enough. I think I'm gonna be running out, so I might have to purchase one more skein of each, if not more, but I'll see later on in the pattern like where I'm at, because I don't want to buy in advance if I don't need it, so we'll see. But I mean, I think I only have this and a bit and one more skein of the Knit Purl Girl, and I've got 2 sleeves to go and the body to finish, so I don't think that'll be enough. But yeah, so the construction of this is quite simple. You start with the back panel and you increase on each shoulder panel on each row, so wrong side and right side for this shaping, and you incorporate the lace pattern as you go. So there's no German short row shaping, and then you pick up stitches for one shoulder. Don't think there's German short rows in there. If there is, I'll put it on the screen, but I don't think there is. And then you again include the lace pattern as you go, and after a bit you start doing increases around the neckline. You do the same thing for the other shoulder, and then you join them together under the neckline. At the bottom of the front panel only, not the back panel, you have armhole increases, and then you join it all together, and you have quite a bit of stitches to add under the arms, and then you just knit the body using the lace chart. And yeah, so I'm about, sorry, I've got ends to weave in. I want to say like I've got maybe 3 centimeters under the body. I don't know if you can see that. So not that much, but then I decided to knit the color. I think I'm missing a few stitches in the color compared to what the pattern said, but that was the amount I picked up. So I think maybe it was in the back panel, because you can kind of see when I don't stretch it out, it kind of is a bit, there's a bit of a, I don't know, it's not the neatest, but I think when I block it, hopefully it'll be all right. I think in the front it looks good, so that's okay. And yeah, it's gonna be a pretty big, like large garment on me. I think it's gonna be quite a bit of a positive ease garment, but I think it's gonna be looking really cute, so I'm very excited to block this, because right now when I hold it up like this, honestly it looks better on camera than real life. Like real life it looks really frumpy, maybe here you can see, but I think blocking it's gonna be stunning, so really excited about this. So I think I forgot to mention in the podcast one thing that I've done in this pattern, one modification, which I think is quite important to share, but my row gauge is a bit off, and so I decided to do one less pattern repeat in the front panel before doing the increases under the armhole, because it just would have been too big. Otherwise you can see that the armhole depth is already quite big. Now I don't mind a wide sleeve, I actually really love that, so I really love the look of the finished piece in the sample pictures, so I think this armhole is going to be quite good for that. Hopefully it's not too big either. But yeah, I did do one less pattern repeat for my size, which I'm knitting size D, I think, in this pattern, if I haven't said. So yeah, I mean, it's looking quite good. Really excited. And I guess that shows because that's the amount I got done in like 2 weeks. But yeah, I've just really been wanting to knit on whatever I've been excited by, and I'm really excited to cast on more projects. And for example, really want to work on more summer garments because the weather's been nice, and so that kind of helps me motivate myself to knit more summer garments. But I'll stick to my current whips. Hopefully I can finish one and then cast another one on for the next podcast, because I don't really want to be too repetitive. So let me know what you would rather see. If you don't mind having updates on just those 4 whips, I do have to get back to my socks, but that'll be later, I think. Yeah, or if you would rather see newer projects. I don't know, because I try to film this every 2 weeks. It can kind of get repetitive, but I hope not too much. So yeah, not bought any more yarn because last podcast I had quite a few acquisitions. I've not played around with swatches. I have bought quite a few patterns from Petite because of her sale that she had for her 10-year anniversary. So I think I got 8 in total. Most of those, and so I only bought 4 technically, because you had 1 pattern free for 1 bot, or 2 patterns, I don't know, don't remember. And I bought mostly baby/kids patterns because I would like to knit some for my nieces and nephews, but we'll see with the time that I have. So yeah, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you're knitting on currently. As always, I love to hear it. I love sharing our thoughts in the comments and talking with you guys. So let me know everything, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!